Hey everyone, it's Alex, and I am back with my late but not forgotten video of the 70th Annual Tony Awards winners and ceremony review. So with the Tony Awards, I can't actually say whether or not the winners themselves are fully deserving because since I live in upstate New York, I can't go down to New York City all the time to see these shows on Broadway. But of course, on various theater-related sites, I read all about various shows, which ones get good buzz, which ones get bad buzz, and all that stuff. So I can kind of tell from that which shows seem to be better or worse than others. But in this video, I'm going to go over the winners like I do with all my other videos, and I'll let any theater buffs who see this video and who have seen these shows on Broadway write down in the comments section whether or not you think these are good winners or not. I'm sure many people probably will agree with most of the winners because not too many people have complained about the winners this year and said, oh, this person should have won instead of that person, or that show should have won instead of that show. So even though I can't personally say whether the winners are good or bad, I can talk about the ceremony and what I liked and didn't like about it. Now let's get into the actual winners for the 70th Annual Tony Awards, and I'm going to read them off right here on my laptop. Alright. Best Costume Design of a Play, Clint Ramos Eclipsed. Best Costume Design of a Musical, Paul Tazewell, Hamilton. Best Lighting Design of a Play, Natasha Katz, Long Day's Journey into Night. Best Lighting Design of a Musical, Howell Binkley, Hamilton. Best Scenic Design of a Play, David Zinn, The Humans. Best Scenic Design of a Musical, David Rockwell, She Loves Me. Best Book of a Musical, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Hamilton. Best Choreography, Andy Blankenbuehler, Hamilton. Best Orchestrations, Alex Lacamoire, Hamilton. Best Original Score, Music and/or Lyrics Written for the Theater, Hamilton, Music and Lyrics by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Best Featured Actor in a Play, Reed Birney, The Humans. Best Featured Actress in a Play, Jane Houdyshell, The Humans. Best Featured Actor in a Musical, Daveed Diggs, Hamilton. Best Featured Actress in a Musical, Renee Elise Goldsberry, Hamilton. Best Actor in a Play, Frank Langella, The Father. Best Actress in a Play, Jessica Lange, Long Day's Journey into Night. Best Actor in a Musical, Leslie Odom Jr., Hamilton. Best Actress in a Musical, Cynthia Erivo, The Color Purple. Best Director of a Play, Ivo Van Hove, A View from the Bridge. Best Director of a Musical, Thomas Kail, Hamilton. Best Revival of a Play, A View from the Bridge. Best Revival of a Musical, The Color Purple. Best Play, The Humans by Stephen Karam. Best Musical, Hamilton. And those are the winners for the 70th Annual Tony Awards, and from the consensus I've heard from theater critics and theater fans, it seems like a pretty good list of winners. I think the only award that some people might have given pause to or been surprised by probably Best Costume Design of a Play. Most people did not see Eclipse winning this at all. Most people thought, I think it would be Long Day's Journey into Night. Same with Best Lighting Design of a Play. I think most people assumed it would go to A View from the Bridge, but it went to Long Day's Journey into Night. And Best Choreography. People seemed to be split 50-50. Some thought Andy Blankenbuehler deservedly won for Hamilton, while others felt it should have gone to Savion Glover for Shuffle Along. Since for Shuffle Along it was nominated for like 10 Tonys and won 0 of them. You know, just dominated by Hamilton and everything. But of course, Hamilton, it's been hailed as one of those once-in-a-lifetime musicals that deserves to win every single award it possibly can. I'm actually in the process right now of reading Ron Chernow's biography of Alexander Hamilton that Lin-Manuel Miranda used as the source for this musical. It's a very fascinating biography, like 750 pages, but from reading what I've read so far, I can tell just how meticulously Ron Chernow researched this book, and it's a very fascinating read. As for the ceremony itself, I enjoyed it tremendously. I thought it was a fantastic ceremony. I've only been watching the Tony Awards since 2008, but I have to say, from the shows I have seen, this is definitely among my top 3 favorites. I really mean that. I'd say the best one I've ever seen from the ones I've watched was the 2009 show hosted by Neil Patrick Harris. I guess I'd put this one second, actually. This was the second best Tony Awards ceremony I've ever seen. The third best, which I think it was the 2013 ceremony hosted by Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah, those would be my top 3. But as for the 2016 ceremony, considering the tragedy that happened in Orlando when a psychotic gunman opened fire in a gay nightclub and killed 50 people, making it the largest mass shooting in American history, the show was able to still go on and be a fun show despite that tragedy. Of course, the tragedy was never forgotten during the show, not by a long shot. In fact, when the show opened, James Corden gave a brilliant little speech saying, you know, we are shocked and saddened by what's happened in Orlando. The theater community will always stand behind the LGBT community. We will overcome this. I thought it was a brilliant way for him to acknowledge what had happened, and, you know, bravo to him. And I'll talk about that a little more in my favorite acceptance speeches, because the Orlando shooting did come up in a lot of them. But first I want to talk about what my favorite performances were, because one of the main reasons why people watch the Tony Awards is to see the performances from the nominated original musicals and musical revivals. So, like I said before, I have not seen these shows in their entirety, so I could only judge the quality of the performance based on what I saw on the ceremony. But I'm just reading off a list here so I don't forget. These were my top 5 favorite performances of the night. At number 5, I had School of Rock. I've heard a lot of great things about that show. It's been hailed as Andrew Lloyd Webber's Broadway comeback. It's his first critically and commercially successful show in a very long time. I know some people were a bit iffy on School of Rock's performance on the Tonys, but I thought they did a good job, and those kids who were playing the instruments, they were phenomenal, I thought. It's really nice to see that kids today aren't just blinded by the music of Justin Bieber or One Direction or Ariana Grande or Miley Cyrus or any of the pop acts that I personally think is garbage. So it's really nice to see that there are kids out there that do appreciate good old-fashioned rock and roll and who do admire many classic and modern rock bands that make good music that will stand the test of time. So it was great to see that. My number 4 best performance was Spring Awakening. This musical revival, of course, gained a lot of attention for the fact that it was made up of a cast of both hearing and deaf actors, and they performed the musical numbers that in a synchronized manner, where the hearing actor would sing and the deaf actor would sign. There were 2 people playing each role, a hearing and a deaf actor, and they would synchronize with each other so that way both the hearing and the deaf audience members, when the show was on Broadway, could understand what was going on. Of course, the show closed months before the Tonys because it was a limited engagement, but they brought it back onto the Tony stage for that. But they brought it back on stage just for the Tony Awards, at least for those songs that they sang, and it makes me wish I had been able to see that show. I've actually never seen a production of Spring Awakening ever, although I've heard fantastic things about that show. I do know that the original Broadway production a decade ago starred people like Lea Michele and Jonathan Groff, who were unknowns at the time but are big stars now, both in the theater world and in the film and television world. Lea Michele, of course, being from Glee, and Jonathan Groff being the voice of Kristoff in Frozen. Number 3, The Color Purple. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about this show. I'm aware that the original production a decade ago was considered bloated and overlong, but this revival, which I heard like cut down about 30 minutes worth of material, is just absolutely fantastic, and it's apparently one of those rare theater revivals that's way better than the original. But the songs they perform were just fantastic, especially from the lead actress Cynthia Erivo. My God, her voice was stunning. I don't know how she can belt those high notes night after night after night. She must be on like complete vocal rest all day until she has to sing. I mean, just the quality of her voice, she puts many of today's pop stars to shame, because many of today's pop stars will never, ever have a voice as good as hers. All right, number 2, Waitress. This, of course, is the musical whose score was written by Sara Bareilles. Admittedly, I don't have any Sara Bareilles albums in my iTunes library. I really have been meaning to get some, but my favorite radio station plays Sara Bareilles' music all the time, so with the songs that they do play constantly, I really, really love. And Sara Bareilles herself, even though she's not a cast member of the show, she did perform a song. Well, she performed first, and then the main star of the show, Jessie Mueller, and the rest of the cast then performed another song. And this show, of course, is a musical adaptation of the 2007 film Waitress that originally starred Kerry Russell. And I've heard that they use real pies in the show. They have like a person who bakes all the pies that will be seen in the show, like the day of the show or the day before, and they use those pies in the show. And apparently they even have real pies for sale in the lobby of the theater. And I would totally buy a pie from a theater just because you can, you know. That would be cool. My number 1 favorite performance of the night was Hamilton. Now, I know some people didn't like the number they did from Hamilton because they felt it didn't utilize the choreography enough, and some people felt it was different due to the fact that they removed the muskets that were originally used in the number. They removed the muskets because of the tragedy that happened in Orlando, but having never seen all of Hamilton all the way through, I thought the number was fantastic. And should Hamilton, when it goes on tour, make a stop in my city, I will absolutely buy a ticket to the show the moment tickets go on sale, because from everything I've heard, I need to see that show. Those are my favorite performances. Now, here are my favorite acceptance speeches. My 5th favorite was Leslie Odom Jr. My 4th favorite was Cynthia Erivo. My 3rd favorite was Renee Elise Goldsberry. My 2nd favorite was Lin-Manuel Miranda. He was one of the people who made reference to the Orlando shootings in his acceptance speech. He read this sonnet he had written, you know, where he was repeating the words love over and over again. He was like, love, love, love. And, you know, it got a big cheer from the audience, and I know a lot of people said it was their best moment of the night, and it was certainly one of my favorite moments of the night. And it was just a very heartfelt tribute on his part, and you could feel it in his voice as he was reading it, because he was really struggling to hold back the tears as he was reading that speech. And, you know, I always like it when people show genuine emotion when giving a speech. I know some people are like, oh, people shouldn't cry, it looks too weird. I don't mind it when that happens. But my favorite acceptance speech of the night was by far Frank Langella. Frank Langella was the perfect example of what being a humble winner looks like. You know, he was certainly glad to have won the award, but he knew, given the circumstances in Orlando, that ultimately that tragedy was more important than anything he was doing right there. So instead of reading off a list of names of people from the production of The Father and just his family and whoever helped and supported him in this role. He instead dedicated his speech to the victims of Orlando and said, "We will be with you every step of the way." And, you know, whenever someone can be that humble, it's just amazing and shows that they really do care about important things. And as for James Corden as a host, I thought he was fantastic. I thought it was great that he acknowledged the Orlando tragedy at the beginning of the show. I thought his opening musical number was great, where he referenced his childhood love of musical theater and where he parodied basically every Broadway musical ever created. That was brilliant. And of course, although this video was pre-recorded before the Tony Awards ceremony, they did of course show a special Broadway edition of Carpool Karaoke, James Corden's most famous and popular segment from his talk show. And this Carpool Karaoke had Lin-Manuel Miranda, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Jane Krakowski, and Audra McDonald. I think there was someone else, or maybe not. If there was, please let me know, but I think it was those four plus him, and that was just really fun to watch. Yeah, so overall I thought James Corden was a fantastic Tony host, and I would definitely like to see him host the Tonys again. And in fact, actually, I'd love to see James Corden host every other award show. I'd like to see him host the Emmys, I'd like to see him host the Golden Globes, I'd like to see him host the Grammys, and I'd even like to see him host the Oscars. I really do think he could host any award show and be good at it. I think he's one of those types of people. I mean, it's too soon to tell, but in the future he could perhaps be considered the next Billy Crystal or Johnny Carson or Bob Hope when it comes to great award show hosts. So we'll see. As for things I did not like about the show, one thing I didn't like was how they handled the in memoriam sequence. I don't know what it is about the Tonys, but for some reason it just seems they don't put as much effort into the in memoriam as the Oscars or the Emmys do. Sometimes the Tony Awards, I can think of at least two occasions, I think it was in 2012 or 2014, where they didn't even have an in memoriam sequence at all on the show. Instead, they just put up a video on their YouTube channel of celebrities that died in the past year. But when they do have the in memoriam sequence on the Tony Awards, they often have someone sing during that sequence, and that's fine, you know, but oftentimes it seems more attention is paid to the singer rather than the names being shown. You can have a couple of shots of the singer singing and pause the video, which is fine, and that has been done at like the Oscars and the Emmys in the past, but I really don't like it when the singer is singing and you can't really see the names behind you as the video is playing, because it makes you go, okay, what names are being displayed there? Who are they honoring? They didn't have a singer this year. Instead, they had a couple of musicians play the song Seasons of Love from Rent, which was, and they showed all the names without frequently cutting back and forth to the musicians, but for some reason it just felt really rushed. It seemed like they were showing the names so fast that we, the viewers at home, didn't get a chance to really absorb all those who were being acknowledged. It may sound petty to complain about something like that, but that's how I honestly felt. And another thing that bugged me was the lack of a proper tribute to Tony history. This was the 70th annual Tony Awards, and while they did acknowledge several great musicals of the past by having casts from current Broadway shows go outside to this special stage and perform like a small segment of a number from a classic musical, a lot of them were really cool to see. I still wish they had done some kind of big tribute to all the great Tony-winning plays and musicals of the past, like do a quick video montage of highlighting the names of every Tony winner for Best Play and Best Musical. When the Oscars were having their 80th annual ceremony, Jack Nicholson came out and presented a tribute to all the great Academy Award-winning movies of the past by showing a clip featuring all of the previous Oscar winners for Best Picture. So that's what I would have liked to have seen from the Tony Awards this year, so that we could all get a reminder of the great plays and musicals that had won these honors in the past. Anyway, those are my overall thoughts on the Tony Awards. Let me know if you agree or disagree with them, and please be sure to like this video, check out my other videos, and subscribe to my channel so you can get more content. I'll be back soon with my video for the Saturn Award winners. Until then, see you guys next time. Bye.